Meeting June 27, 2022, McCracken County Courthouse. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Jones.
I'm here.
Commissioner Parker.
Here.
Commissioner Bartleman.
Here.
Judge Cloninger.
Here. Commissioner Bartleman, offer our prayer, please.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We just ask you to be with us as we consider the business of the county tonight and help us to make the decisions that are best for all. And Father, we just continue to pray for our first responders who are out keeping our community safe, for those in emergency services, the sheriff's office, ambulance workers, and all the others, the road department people there. They help to keep us safe too. We just pray for all of those as they perform their duties. We're just so thankful for what you do for us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. Y'all get the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, then first is the consent agenda.
It is ordered to approve the consent agenda for the June 27, 2022 McCracken County Fiscal Court.
So made.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Budget.
It is ordered that the necessary cash transfers in the amount of $760,000 be made in order to pay county bills and payroll approved June 27, 2022.
So made. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Accounts payable.
It is ordered to approve the vouchers claims register from June 13, 2022 to June 27, 2022 to show county bills in the amount of $1,506,107.80 were paid.
So made. Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Then we had under discussion a job fair. We had a request from Mary Ann Medlock for the county to join and some others in supporting a workforce or a upcoming job fair. I had intended but did not get back to it to ask her what she had in mind, at what level she wanted sponsorship help and that sort of thing. So I don't guess you hadn't talked to her, I don't guess, Steve. Here. So I frankly don't recall
Sir,
when that is.
Her email to you is in your packet.
Is it? There it is. Let's see. It says this fall, August, September time frame. If you'd like, I'll find out some more information. I don't know what we can accomplish right now on that. I would assume everybody'd be interested in helping if we knew what the request amounts to. That sound?
Yeah.
That sound all right with everybody? I'll make Vicki, if you'll remind me, I'll try and get in touch with her tomorrow and see what she has in mind. We'll push it over to the next meeting. Okay. Then we have a discussion of the E911 sports complex. I just wanted to have some. I don't want to, we need to address what's going on with these two projects. Just as the very basics, so the city and the county each signed separate contracts, one on the sports complex, in which the city, well, I guess everybody knows that pays any attention, want to build a $42 million sports or athletic complex out at the Bluegrass Downs property and take in the Stuart Nelson Park property. We've been working diligently on that for a good while. Sports Tourism Commission has been working on that. Steve Urban's been our head of that project with the sports tourism people. And so we are to a point where there are contracts that need to be signed so that progress can move forward. The basics of the sports complex MOU is the city will commit to $12.5 million in the project. The county commits to $12.5 million. And we go through this process and come to an agreement with the sports tourism people of what we want to build, the layout, the engineering, all of that. And we've gotten as far as we can go right now, waiting on these other contracts to be signed. And so there's become I guess we could call it a misunderstanding, a disagreement. The city has now proposed that rather than commit to $12.5 million on the sports complex, they will commit to paying half of that, $6.25 million, and will not pay the other half until the county agrees with the city on a 911 project. Again, the two projects totally separate, not interrelated in any way, certainly not contingent upon each other. And so the sports complex project has been sitting on hold for some time now. It's costing somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 a month for work that can't be done, but we have to pay for. And along with that is the understanding that the consultant, the expert in this thing that builds these complexes all over the nation, has estimated that once this sports complex is completed and running, it will generate some $3 million of economic benefit to the community. Not ticket sales, not popcorn sales, but economic benefit from tourists coming in, staying in hotels, eating in the restaurants, filling their cars up, buying at the retail shops, and all the other things that tourists do that will draw in. So we're paying $50,000 a month in direct loss on this, waiting for this agreement to go forward. And obviously the longer the delay, with each month we delay on the back end, we are losing $3 million in estimated economic benefit to our community, both city, county, and really regionally. And so when I've been talking back and forth with Mayor Bray, and when the mayor proposed that they would not pay the $12.5 million, but would pay $6.25 until we agreed with them on a 911 project, I encouraged him to look and seek legal advice, assuring him that the two were totally independent, not conditions precedent, we would say, of one another. There is no requirement, and it was never contemplated that the sports complex would be on hold until we could decide on the 911. And of course, Commissioner Jones, you're on the 911 interim committee. You know, as do I, that the 911 is certainly at least weeks off, may very well be months off, and getting a interlocal agreement, putting more flesh on the bones of these contracts. And so I've encouraged the mayor to look at that, to not hold back that $6.25 million pledge, because this sports complex, as tremendous as it is, and I think the city and the county and everybody that looks at it agrees, this is probably the greatest economic driver that, well, certainly that we have now, and perhaps that we've ever had. I don't know that it creates more benefit it doesn't commit more benefit than the atomic plant back in the 50s. But anyway, tremendous project, not only for the economic benefit, but to bring our kids off of landfill, a reclaimed landfill for their soccer. And then it's not just soccer, it's baseball, softball, perhaps other sports. Talk about pickleball perhaps being out there. And so obviously, you give it a minute's thought, this sports complex, to go forward with it, we need to understand that as we spend all this money in engineering and developing it, the complex, we need to understand that we are going to have the full finances in place to go forward with it, and thus the MOU signed by the city and county. I left out the part that there's the interlocal agreement will then put the flesh on the bones or the details in the sports complex project, just like the interlocal agreement will put more detail on the 911, but totally separate. So we have the proposal from the mayor that they will not pay the 12.5 or commit to 12.5 that they committed to, but instead 6 1/4 and not pay their 6 1/4 until we agree with what the county, the city wants for 911. And if we do not agree, if we can't come to some agreement on the 911, then they will not pay the other $6 1/4 million. Jeopardizes the sports complex being built, certainly being built as it's been designed and hoped for and committed to by both the city and the county. I mentioned all this money that's been spent. I think I wrote that down and left it in the office probably. It's some $680,000, I believe it is. There it is. No, I'm wrong. $862,000 that has been spent so far in what land acquisition, engineering, master planning, to get this thing underway and get it done as rapidly as we can, but yet responsibly, and provide all these things that we're talking about. So lying in, bottom line, we need to know, are we going to be able to go forward with this sports complex? Do we need to start a plan B of perhaps downsizing, anticipating that we need to know up front what's the amount of money we know we will have to build this thing out. And if $6 1/4 million is in limbo, we don't know whether that be paid or not. We have to prepare to downsize it. And as we all know from our discussions, if we downsize it a certain amount, we then lose that tourism aspect of the project, because we have to have a certain number of fields, a certain number of parking spaces, a certain number of attributes to this sports complex in order to draw this vast amount of tourism into the park. If we have to downsize it beyond a certain point, and it may well be that a loss of $6 1/4 million will cause that then we lose the tourism. What we have then is just a local park, and I don't know, I suspect, but don't know whether the allow us to have Stuart Nelson Park to include in this project, that then the county would in essence have provided 2/3 of the land, even if they provide the park. If they don't provide Stuart Nelson, we will have provided all the land, including a very nice grandstand, indoor and outside 1,000 seats thereabout. So I guess that's it. That was a big nutshell, but that's in sort of a nutshell. So want to bring that to attention. I did, I left out, I think, did I mention that had Kent Price, hired Kent Price, who's the drafter of the sports or the athletic complex memorandum of understanding. The question was, I want you to look at these two, the sports or athletic complex memorandum and the 911 memorandum, the two separate documents, and see, are they interrelated? Are they dependent upon one another? Are they even related to one another in any way? And certainly, are they contingent upon either? Because the city has taken the position that the building of the sports complex is contingent, requires that we agree with them on the 911. He wrote, as Kent will do, a very detailed, thorough analysis that I have sent out to you guys. Just got it about an hour and a half ago, concluding that the two projects, contrary to the city's position, have no relationship to one another and certainly are not interrelated or dependent on one being done without the other. And there's no condition in one that the other has to be done, and no timeline. So we have that. I've asked the mayor to give me a call. In fairness to him, he's been out of town. I think he just got back today. I've not heard from him, but I'm going to encourage again that the city, and then the mayor told me that the entire city commission is in agreement that the city will not negotiate on the sports complex project until the county has agreed to a 911 system that is suitable to the city. And again, that's certainly weeks away, probably some months away. So there it is.
I serve on the 911 committee, and I think the 911 committee is doing its due diligence and moving as fast as it can. I mean, a large portion of the five of us just met each other in January. We have been meeting every 2 weeks. I want to assure my city commissioners, I live in the city and the county, that I am committed, as both a county commissioner and member of that committee, that I'm committed to a community 911 radio network. And that's, I think, an important distinction that has been lost in the news media. Frankly, it was lost on me for several months. That you have a 911 dispatch, and then you've got a radio network which talks to the first responders, and that's how they respond to the emergency. And those are two separate tasks. They obviously work together, but where we are on each of them is different. There's been some talk about the 911 consoles are out of date.
What is that? Can you shut that off?
Based upon the estimates I've seen, I believe we could, again, when you're mixing technology, and I'm not an expert, and everyone who talks to the 911 committee starts every speech with these words: I'm not an expert, because we don't have a local expert. And the expert that we're using, he phones in, he comes in, but he's not at every meeting. So we are developing, I think, we're developing smarter questions, but we're still in the stage where we're developing smarter questions. And our questions today are smarter in January. But what I do know is that when I look at the pieces of paper on the estimates, the estimate that's for fixing the consoles, which is the 911 concern, which is what at least 2 or 3 weeks ago I was reading about on social media, just fix that. Well, that's $667,000, provided it would work with everything that we existingly have. And I think everyone on this court would say, well, let's buy that now. What's really driving the issue now is how we approach the radio network for the first responders. And right now, your radio network for first responders is one tower that does a radio network for city and one tower that does a radio network for county. And it's insufficient, but the question is, do we go all in with 6 brand new towers at the same time the Kentucky State Police is coordinating the building of a statewide radio network? Is there some cost savings that can be done with that? We're not talking about going back to state police dispatch. We're talking about a radio network, a completely different conversation that existed 6 years ago when they were talking about having 911 dispatch in Richmond, Kentucky. So I'm committed to a community 911 agency, and that's what we're talking about, creating a new joint city-county agency that can't be done in weeks. It will take, I believe, significant more time to come up with how we're going to govern that, how we're going to fund that, who's going to make sure that we're making all the right decisions with how we bid the project of building a radio network. What's different about this radio network is all proposals include inclusion of what's called the KET tower, which is out on Coleman Road. It's a bigger tower. Neither network uses it now. Both proposals, I guess, in essence, it sounds like to me that the city leaders are already committed to a 6-tower network, $12 million. I don't think the committee is yet to that point of knowing that level of commitment to that particular project. But clearly we're going to have to do something different than we've done. I just ask that my city commissioners let the process work. There are 5 people really on the committee to try and figure out how to do it right. Give us time to do it right, and don't rush us in our job by saying things like, well, you can't do this project until you do that project. I think that's unfair to the public, the citizens of McCracken County, citizens of Paducah, to rush us in such a huge project and decision.
Anything?
I agree with you, Judge. I think for us to accept the city's offer to pay half now on the sports complex and half later is a bad deal, and it's almost a laughable offer, because if we were to agree to that, we'd be signing a blank agreement on the 911. It would take away our total negotiating power on 911 and the debate on what we need. We'd have to go along with exactly what the city would want to do, because we'd need the rest of the money for the sports complex. I went back and reviewed the city commission meeting from last year when they approved the interlocal agreements. And I'll paraphrase, the mayor made the comments that there's no other project that he has received more positive comment on than the sports complex. And he was very supportive of it there, and talked about it very positively. But he said there's no other project that the city worked on that he got any more comments on than he did this. One of the city commissioners said that we need to move quickly on the sports complex because we don't need to lose another construction season. And she made the comment that they needed to move on that and get that done very quickly. We have the memorandum of understanding is written for the sports complex. The city knows what its obligations will be, the county knows what its obligations will be, and it's ready to sign. There's nothing in writing. There's not even the first paragraph, I don't think, of what would be in the agreement on 911. And I really don't understand why the city thinks that we're not going to agree to 911. We're committed to agreeing to 911, but we want to have input and negotiate what's in there. And I use the analogy that it's like, if you're going to go you tell your wife you're going to go buy a new car, and she picks out a $100,000 Lexus, when your idea was a $35,000 Toyota. So we don't want approving the city's $100,000 Lexus. And I don't know if they're going to do that, but I really don't understand why they think we're not going to come to an agreement, because we have signed a piece of paper saying we're going to agree, but we have to negotiate to agree. We didn't sign a paper to say we're going to agree to anything the city wants to do. we signed an agreement that we would come to an agreement and we would discuss and negotiate what the final product would be. The 911 system has been needed to be replaced. That's one of the first things when I became a commissioner 8 years ago we talked about. We do.
It's not it's the radio network.
The radio. Well, we talked about at that time of partnering with the state police, and the county had negotiations with that, and we were moving along. But the city didn't want to have anything to do with that. They wanted their own system. I personally think we'd be better off for everybody if we had a regional system. It would reduce costs for everybody, but apparently that's not going to work out. But I still think, as Commissioner Jones said, and I appreciate the work of the 911 committee, that they're just digging in. They're not going to just accept anything that one group wants to do or says. They're looking into to trust but verify all those things. So another thing, when the chairman of the 911 was here at I think our last meeting, or the meeting before, he said it'll probably be December before they know exactly what the project's going to entail. And we can't wait till December to do the sports complex. That's going to take us, probably we'll lose 2 construction seasons or 2 operating seasons if we have to wait that long. We need to get this thing moving and moving quickly, and I just hope the city will remember the fact that this has strong community support, and remember the fact of the comments they made that we need to get it moving so we can have it, the economic impacts will come with it.
I guess because this is the only chance I seem to get to talk to city commissioners now is sometimes they watch these videos. I am committed to a community 911 agency, committed to building a radio network that is far better than what we have now, and we're going to do it right, and we're not going to put it off. We're going to do it.
I echo those thoughts. I think we're all committed to a 911 radio system that we can all be proud of and works well. I think we've all heard the $8 to $12 million range, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I think we've got kind of comfortable with it. So I don't know where the reasoning is that we're not ready to move forward once they have some hard decisions that's been made. I mean, I think we're all in and we're ready to go, but we definitely want to get the sports park off the ground because it's costing money every day that we don't.
So I think the decision tree, 4 decisions. 1, you go with 6 brand new towers spread throughout the county that is controlled by city county agency. That's one option. Do you do that RFP? Do you another one where you use the 4 existing towers that we sort of have built and upgrade them and see where that gets us on our reliability? And then the third option is, and a guy named Brandon Marshall, who's in charge of building a statewide network, is coming to our next meeting. Is there a way to combine forces with the state police effort, not to dispatch, but to build a radio network? Because they are already using the KET tower, which is the largest and tallest tower in the county, to use their network, and that might potentially save us quite a bit of money.
And there's also a lot of other towers to co-locate on around the county. You're doing good.
I want to say that, really 2 bases upon which the city is claiming that we can't go forward on the sports. One is, I already covered, the one about the city believes that these 2 projects by contract are interdependent, can't go forward on one without the other. We've got the drafter, Kent Price, strong attorney, who has opined that they are completely unrelated and not contingent in any way upon the other. The other basis is that, as you mentioned, for some reason, or maybe it was you, Bill, some reason the city says that they're just not convinced that we will honor our memorandum of understanding and go forward with a 911 system. And it's based on some signals that the city says they have seen. I said, tell me what the signals are. What are these what makes you have this feeling that this body, people are trying to, are elected to represent the entire county, to govern over the entire county. We're elected by, potentially, the electorate is everybody who resides within the county. Why? What is it that causes you to doubt our veracity, to doubt our integrity, that we will honor what we both said we'll do and signed a legally binding contract that we will do? Tell me what that is. And I've not heard that. It's just a feeling. It's a signal. And so that's, I'll just use the word frustrating. So I think we've, all we can do, and of course, at the same time that the city is saying, we're just not sure that the county is going to honor the contract, in the same breath, the city has violated the contract by refusing to negotiate on the interlocal agreement on the sports. Just won't do it. And by unilaterally changing one of the major terms by saying we're not going to pay the $12.5 million that we said we would, only pay half unless you do the radio. You're correct, it's not 911, it's a radio system, or 911/911 system. So that's where we are on that. It brings us up to speed, and I do have some faith, certainly have a lot of hope that we can come back together with the city and the county together on this thing, where we've signed legal documents, where we've tried to get this done, and to not get it done would just be, it would absolutely be one of the greatest failures of this community, to let this sports complex slide into what would probably just be a nice park. And obviously, just to be honest about it, my heart tells me that I just wish that the city would just say, thank you, county, for choosing to put a $42 million athletic complex within the city limits between Noble Park and Stuart Nelson Park, along the city portion of the Greenway, that will bring $3 million in economic benefit to the community through all those things we talked about. And where are all those things sitting? Where are the restaurants? Where are the retail? Where's the fuel stations? Where's the hotels? In the city. We don't have all that. We have a spattering of that out in the county. So I think that logic surely at some point it'll come forward. And I just want this for the community. It's just an outstanding opportunity. I just can't understand how it would be risked.
The irony is, this is such a good deal for the city on the sports park, but going back to the radio network, the existing city radio network is one tower, that's 60% of it broadcast into Illinois. Any of the three scenarios I outlined up here, all three of them will improve the radio signal in the city exponentially. So there is no scenario that we're considering that doesn't dramatically improve the city radio network.
Okay. I think we have somebody wanting to speak with us about the sports, or not?
I think you said it all.
Said enough. Well, that's fine.
I was curious as to how much money has been collected on the ready to go for the sports complex for the tax.
How much money has been collected, like through the Sports Tourism Commission, through our hotel motel tax? Do you know, Stevie?
I think it's approximately $2 million.
About $2 million.
Yeah, certainly, if you'd like to call it out.
That's 2 million total, and we spent 860 or whatever I said out of that.
That 860,000 is both Sports Tourism Commission expenditures as well as McCracken County Fiscal Court.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right.
The memorandum, is that a signed contract?
Yes. Yeah, the memorandum of understanding is a signed contract. It's really an aspirational thing that essentially it says that the city and the county and the Sports Tourism Commission, 3 parties, will use our best efforts in good faith to try to go forward in designing a athletic complex that'll, be suitable and do what we want it to do. And it's a very generic thing, rather simple, really, but it's designed to get us to an interlocal agreement. The interlocal agreement is the contract that comes next. The MOU says we'll all meet together, we'll put our heads together, and we'll come up with this interlocal agreement. That is the multi-page, perhaps, well, we have a draft. We sent it over to the city in April, I think. What was it? I don't know, 25 pages, somewhere in that.
26 pages.
26 pages.
Took me a while.
20 written though. I didn't write it. Kent Price wrote it.
Took me a while.
26 pages. The MOU's 3, 4. And so the interlocal agreement is what we got together. Steve Doolittle and I met with the mayor and city manager, I think it was. Wasn't that right? Was it city manager? Assistant city manager, that's right. We sat down to discuss, okay, let's go through this draft that the county is presenting. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Let's good faith with an eye toward we want to get this thing done. We want to be partners. We want to trust each other and get this done. And just as I've shared before, so at one point it became clear that the city, well, I ask, if the county said, if I tell you right now, I'll sign whatever you put down there. You put the terms you want on the interlocal agreement. You tell me how you want this thing to roll out, duties, responsibilities, costs. You say what you want, I sign it. Would you sign it? No, not until you agree on the 911 system. And so the MOU requires us to go with good faith negotiating. So that's where we are today. I do have faith that I have lots of hope, some faith that we'll get this thing done. I think for the good of the community, surely we get it done. So I think we beat that horse maybe.
We have. We said, Tara, thank you and all the parents that are running a heck of a program on volunteer.
I submitted a list of things we'd like for the landfill.
I've resubmitted. I've forwarded it on to everyone else.
We're at capacity where we are. We've increased 3 months in 5 years, so we're at max capacity of the landfill. So this needs to, if not, we need to explore another core area for kids. So.
Lots of parents, voters volunteering with kids out there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on the court orders.
Sir, I understood that perhaps the jailer
Oh.
had something during the discussion portion.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that right, Mr. Dooley?
Yes, Judge, before we talk about it this afternoon.
Oh, okay. I didn't put together that was for tonight. Come on up, David. You want to talk about that?
I'll help get it kicked off too.
He'll kick it off. And
You've seen in recent past how we're rearranging the sheriff's department with the grid and who gets paid and on what schedule. The jail used to have one of those as well. It fell into disrepair and non-use, I don't know, 15 years ago or more at this point. Been trying to get some things changed. You've made some changes to the system already since you came in, including we changed the hiring rate, we restructured some of the middle things. You've done 2 salary adjustments already where we did things, but the jailer is quickly moving towards codifying the whole system into place. And one of the current things before we do that is the first year of this term, you expanded the number of positions that were available in the jail. That frankly has not worked out. We've seldom, if ever, have been at full strength. The challenge being probably the biggest challenge is the hiring rate, and the jailer is here to discuss rolling back the number of employees that he has in exchange for reallocating the dollars into a higher hiring rate. And we wanted to have that discussion with you before we showed up with an ordinance in 2 weeks or a month or whenever we do that.
Thank you. So basically, as Mr. Doolittle explained, we currently have 65 slots for deputies under the deputy line item in our budget. My proposal is we roll it back to 60 and distribute that money. And I've worked with Pam in getting what that is and how, to space it all out. Right now I have 51 that are hired out of 65. Very rarely are we ever at 60. My goal is to at least get up to that point, and we would be able to function just fine at 60. So those extra spots aren't needed. They're never filled. So it's unused allotted money that could go towards not only recruiting employees, but retaining them as well. So we have that worked into the ordinance. I understand you've seen other ordinances that adjust the pay scales from year one up to whichever years they are, and this is set up very similar to that. So if somebody comes in with 3 years experience, I can look on the chart and say, this is exactly what you're going to make. And hopefully that recruits people from surrounding, with the experience.
So
That makes
do
sense.
you reduce by 5 the total number allowed, and take the money that the wages that would have been paid to those 5 and divide it out among the
60 remaining.
60 if you
Yes, sir.
if you ever get to 60.
Yes, sir.
So, I thought when Steve was talking, he said he was gonna put it on the front end, on the starting pay.
If we do it that way, then it's going to crunch the middle, and you'll end up running off the people who are hanging around. I mean, if you bump somebody up to, a starting person to $16 an hour, the people it took them 3 or 4 years to get to that, it's not going to go over well. So to make it even and fair, you have to proportionately divvy it up.
How much would that give you if we eliminated 5 positions? How much money?
About $2 an hour.
$2.50?
$2.
$2 for everybody. For
The
all
remaining 60. Yes, sir.
What's the total value of 6 employees with all their?
The
Was it-
salary value is right at $150,000.
Not counting the benefits, right?
So the salary alone is 150 plus benefits.
Yeah, for retirement alone, you can add 50% to that number, so.
I think we come out at 270 something, and it was somewhere in that range. Was it? Okay.
So they put the starting salary at what? We give them $2 more an hour.
16.
So that's that compression thing is what we run into all the time. We're seeing, I worked at the jail for 2 years, and now there's somebody come in first day making the same money or maybe even more than I am. And that goes all the way up the line. Each from, I don't know what you call them, just, I guess, deputy to sergeant to lieutenant to
Right.
whatever grade you have. You press them in, you give them money on the low end, and then everybody else on the higher ends complains, well, I'm not, I worked for nothing or no advancement for that period of time.
We're going to do this by ordinance. What's the timeline on the ordinance?
We have it written, so it's just a matter of,
Essentially written, it's plugging the numbers in and pretty willing to give direction going forward to reduce the head count and make the structural changes.
So the other aspect of it too then is, of course, the person coming in new. If we do this, particularly if we do this categories, what do we call that? Like we did the sheriff's grades. Yeah, we do it by grades. Then the person coming in, I guess you call it grade 1 when they first start, can see in writing. Right now it's, well, if you do good and you stay on for 2 or 3 years, you might be able to get your money up to this level. But if you see something in writing, in 2 years you're grade whatever, 4 years you're grade whatever, and here's the money, and of course that's an incentive for even the person at the front end to stay longer and see increased wages. And I've been completely covered up. I've not had time to give it a whole lot of thought, but that's why we just wanted to put it on. Let's discuss it, let's sleep on it for a week or two, pull out the ordinance, and see if we think we can vote on it.
You get a copy of the grid?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep, I can do that.
I'm in favor of the concept.
But I think we're looking at then really two things, increasing that, splitting that money for the 5 across the pallet, and you liking the grade system rather.
Yes, sir.
As well.
And that is in the ordinance. The chart is in there.
It's both in one ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do we need a vote to reduce the number of positions, or just being in the ordinance be all right?
We'll put that in the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
I enjoyed seeing, I wasn't able to get to your graduation for some of your inmates over there. Give us a little 1 minute. Yeah.
That was our first multi-county class that we had. It was a deckhand class. It involved 3 different counties, and so, to me, it's helping the entire region, not just McCracken, when we pool our resources to do that. In about a week and a half, we have our first female class graduating from an electrical class. So we're definitely making progress.
Good deal.
Great stuff.
All right, thank you all.
All right, thank you. All right. Let's see. Now, court orders.
It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to execute any documents necessary to implement the contract with the Commonwealth of Kentucky for the payment of DOC jail payments House Bill 556 funds to the county.
So made.
Second.
Discussion.
Is this just the increase funding they're going to give us, Steve? Is that what this is, contract? What's House Bill 556?
It's already in existence. We already get funds for it. It started in this current year. So it's a 2-year contract to continue those funds.
So it's the same as what we've had before, but is it?
It's new. It's new with this current year that we're in. That it's a new program they started, and it's to do with his training programs about the inmates that attend the programs and how well they do.
I'm sorry to laugh, but in speaking with him before, it involves right now fewer than 20 inmates. We get a higher per diem for being certified for those inmates.
Yes. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that $2,000 be paid to Kentucky State Treasurer to return the unspent waste tire grant funds received for fiscal year 2021.
So made.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to record, as required by the State Auditor's Office, the annual salaries for McCracken County employees for fiscal year 2022-2023.
So made.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
What did we just do? Was this did we approve the salary schedule?
Oh, you know what?
Yes, sir.
I did not read that right. I'm sorry. I'd like to change my vote.
So we approved the salary schedule as presented.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I read state auditors and I did not read that. That's not what I wanted to do.
We need to go back.
Yeah, I'd like us to reconsider that.
I agree. I second that.
I made a motion, someone seconded it, but I wanted to get it on the floor so we could talk about it, and you guys voted it in real quick.
If you're on the prevailing side, you can
Well, I
take
asked
it
if there's
back.
any discussion and asked for a vote.
You did, and I zoned. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Is that a formal motion to reconsider?
That we reconsider.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay, didn't last too long, did it? All in favor of reconsidering that?
Aye.
All right, we'll reconsider it then. So,
Is there,
If you're going to reconsider it, sir, I should reread it. We should have another motion and second.
all right.
It is ordered to record, as required by the State Auditor's Office, the annual salaries for McCracken County employees for fiscal year 2022-2023.
I'll make a motion for discussion.
I'll second for discussion.
I have a question. When we approved the budget, did we approve the salary schedule?
Yes and no. We have two distinct things you have to do. One is approve the budget with line items that include what will be included in the budget. Later, and as required by law, prior to the fiscal year, you have to set the salary for everybody, and that's what this action is.
So
And
this salary schedule does
some of
not,
them will vary.
this salary schedule is different than what was in the budget. Is that right? We had, in part of our budget document, we had a list of all the salaries, of what they were this year and what the COLA was going to take them to. When we approved the budget, did we approve the salaries at the COLA rate for all the employees?
I think we planned a number in the budget for COLA.
But when we did that, did we approve the salaries?
No, that's a separate distinct act.
So we just
That's
approved,
what this action
we approved the gross amount of
Right.
money for it, but we didn't approve the individual salaries.
Correct.
Okay.
Here's what I'd like to do, Judge, is I just need a little more time with this issue, and I would be available Thursday morning for a special. I realize we have to do this by July 1, which gives us a short amount of time, but I'd be available Thursday morning if.
The judge and Steve are not.
Are you suggesting we pass over this and have a meeting later on to discuss these? Eddie, is that what you're doing?
Yes.
If you make that motion, I'll second it.
Well, before I'll make sure.
Well, I guess we can find a time. While we're looking for a time, let me just say this. I want us all to be comfortable with these wages and at these amounts. I will tell you that I work with these people to varying degrees. All these people who we are looking at and giving a increase in wage. I know the work they do. I know their abilities. I know their performance. I know their drive. Some I know much better than others. But Steve and Pam and I, and the ones who are here full-time plus all week long, we've got an incredible team of people, including these folks that like to give some additional compensation for what they do. If we, I understand the thinking that we've got people who start out at low wages in particular jobs. And I get that when we're working toward trying to get those bumped up to a higher level. And I think we're getting there. And I think we've done great progress in the last 3 years on that. Frankly, our very key people, the ones who are in administrative type positions and our treasurer, our HR, our projects manager, Doolittle, the people that work in this full time, there are comparisons that can be made to other places. City would be a good one probably, and if we compare with the city, we're going to be severely underpaying all these folks. We could maybe go to somewhere else and find where we're paying more for that particular position. But I wouldn't trade any of these people that we're looking at here for anybody else. They don't not only have all those attributes I've already mentioned, but they have the historical knowledge and know the system, know the people, and every time we go talk, you hear me say, and I think you gentlemen agree, and in our, whatever you want to call it, in our administrative positions, let's say, we are very strong in talent. And I don't mean to insinuate that anybody's going to leave. I've not heard anybody say, hey, if you don't give me a raise, I'm gone. But I think one way to look at this is what would happen? What would we do? What would our reaction be if one of these folks, particularly in highest administrative offices, decided to leave? We would be in a bucket of hurt. And to find somebody, particularly at this time, my God, you can't get anybody to work for hardly any amount of money coming in. People don't want to work anymore. It's a very loose and exaggerated generality, I guess. But so that's just my position on that. I don't like the idea of us not being willing to pay what we think is really a salary that fairly compensates. But I guess the question is, what is that number to fairly compensate? And if you guys Jim will want to do it on another day, not tonight, need some more time to look at it, then that's what we can do.
Let me ask a question, if I could, Steve. Could we approve a salary schedule that gives everybody the COLA and then come back later on and make the adjustments to the 6 or 7 administrative positions that we want to increase beyond the COLA? Could we approve a salary schedule for submission?
That assumes a 3% for everybody.
Right, with 3% for everybody, and then in a week or two, come back and approve adjustments to other positions that would be retroactive to July 1st. Can we do that?
We don't do retroactive.
Pardon me?
We don't do retroactive.
So you're proposing just everybody get a COLA, and then sometime in the near future, we'd look at these positions.
I don't disagree with you, Judge, that we need to make adjustments for some of the administrative positions. I think the question is the level of adjustment. So I agree that we need to do that, but I don't know.
I don't want to get in an argument or anything. I don't see a benefit of not going ahead and addressing it now. And if now needs to be tomorrow or Friday, I don't know what my schedule is.
Couple of
Can't be Friday.
Can't be Friday.
Has to be done before July 1st.
And that's Friday.
And that's
July.
Friday.
Okay.
Well, we also have the issue of timing it with the beginning of a pay period. And Pam, that pay period begins,
I think we settled on June 26th. The first payroll paid in July is July 8th.
right, so
We have to get the
have,
information in.
so that it's fully effective for a year, or actually don't have 2 weeks to make that happen.
Well, the soonest we could have a special call meeting would be Thursday. Can we have one once? What's our notice time?
There's enough time. I have to give 24 hours notice.
Okay. So we can do Wednesday or Thursday or possible. And I'm available Wednesday. I have a 1:15 hearing on Thursday. I could probably get somebody else to cover that if I needed to.
So you want?
Is that a
shoot for
formal motion to postpone until we have a called meeting?
Where are we anyway? We're talking about, we have a motion to
We have a
continue,
motion.
pass this to another day.
Not yet, sir. That's what I was just asking. Do I have a formal motion?
I will make the motion to pass this until a special call meeting that can be called either Wednesday or Thursday of this week.
Is there a second?
What was your motion? I'm sorry.
My motion is to pass this issue to a special call meeting for either Wednesday or Thursday of this week.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? And then we'll come up with if it passes, we'll come up with a date and time. You good with it?
We can come up
Yeah.
with a time. I'm busy like Eddie.
Okay. I'm not doing squats, so I mean.
You're not doing nothing?
Yeah.
Bill's retired.
Bill's not doing squats. So, all in favor of continue it to Thursday or Friday? And then
Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday,
Cannot be
Wednesday or
Friday.
Thursday.
Can't do Friday, Vicky done.
Wednesday or
law.
Thursday. All in favor, aye?
Aye, I'm in favor, aye.
No. All right. So what's our date? You said Wednesday, you can do it at what?
I could do it anytime Wednesday.
Okay. Well, you know, God, I'll just I can move stuff around.
I'm probably good on Wednesday afternoon. I'm not good on Wednesday morning.
Wednesday afternoon,
Yeah. I've got
What do you say, like
eight Calvary Street.
2:30 or something?
Yeah.
Sure.
Does that work for you? What about you, Bill? Wednesday, 2:30?
Yeah, that'll work.
All right.
Conference room A?
Yeah. All right, so we got Wednesday, 2:30. Okay?
Cool.
All right. Let's see.
Ready for D.
D, yeah, go ahead.
It is ordered that the treasurer be authorized to pay Peel and Holland $78,862, same being for 2022-2023 premium expense for $5 million earthquake insurance covered.
So mate.
Second. I'd like to ask a question about that is, I know a lot of insurance people are recommending that because of the high cost of earthquake insurance, that a lot of homeowners are dropping their earthquake insurance. Is this?
We're caught in that same market force. So a year ago, we paid $63,000 roughly for $15 million in coverage. We knew with CAECO when we were renewing this was going to be an issue. This is sort of separate and apart from your property coverages that you have. They warned us that the longtime carrier we've had was dropping out of this market. CAECO approached 20 carriers, 18 did not quote. They hired a specialty firm that works exclusively with earthquake coverage, and when the dust settled, we got 2 quotes. One was to this one, which effectively reduces your coverage by 2/3 and increase your cost from $63,000 to $78,000. The other one was even worse. It was a 113% increase to keep 15 million. Gets a little complicated. So this all started back in the early 90s with the Irvin Browning and the worry about earthquakes and the New Madrid Fault and all that stuff. And that's probably where our $15 million traces back to. $15 million now would not replace this building, would not replace the jail. It's actually not a lot of coverage for us. CAECO, while they don't specifically say we have earthquake coverage, they have this regional disaster umbrella thing they do that, you know, and they've got a $100 million pool set up for, Bill, you maybe know how many counties it is of Western Kentucky. So depending on how widespread that would be, you know, what percentage would come to McCracken County for our loss. The other thing that would undoubtedly happen would be FEMA. FEMA typically fills the gap of what's not insured, and that might, you know, in a major disaster, we would get some recovery from the federal government. So it's a rapidly changing market. My recommendation is that you continue on to grab and hold on to some coverage this year, and since this happened in the last 2 weeks, we learned all this, that we take a year and work with CAECO and try to figure out what our next move is, because even the $15 million coverage was not going to totally cover our plant. I think in our plant, in our book, I think we've got $65 million worth of built assets in McCracken County that were under coverage.
What's the deductible? I remember when I talked to my insurance agent regarding that, the deductible was like 20%.
It's 1% and not less than $50,000 per building.
So if we had $5 million worth of damage, we'd have to pay 20% of that.
1%.
So
But
the
not
insurance
less
would
than
only cover $3
$50,000.
million. Is that right? Is that right? 20% deductible?
1%.
1%.
1% or 50,000 minimum.
Oh, okay. That's a lot different than what my homeowners was. 1%.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're not gonna get that.
Yeah. No. All right.
Right. So if we had $20 million worth of damage to this building, you were looking at a $200,000 premium. However, you would, even if you got today's coverage back, it wouldn't fix your problem. You'd still have a gap. I keep asking CAECO, does any of this make sense anymore? And I'm not sure there's a real good answer out there. And there's some hope and belief that the market will change again, and we'll get some stability back in that insurance market, because we've never had a loss. We've never claimed earthquake coverage on anything. And I remember when we first bought it, and we probably had earthquake coverage for around 20 years.
I also think that if we, obviously, it would be a tragedy, but if we were to have an earthquake that destroyed this building, I think we'd remedy this, having a judicial center within the courthouse. We could get rid of a lot of headaches, and we let the state take care of building out the judicial center. We build ourselves a courthouse. And like, 95% of the other counties, I suspect, I don't think there's very many joint county judicial centers anymore. Maybe less than 4 or 5, but I don't know. For good reason, I think. So, those opposed, no, that carries.
It is ordered that Jeff Parker is appointed to the Community and Economic Development Committee for the Purchase Area Development District to serve a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2022 and expiring on June 30th, 2025, subject to further orders of the court.
So moved.
Second. Have you vetted him as he?
You know, I sat him down and talked to him.
Thank you for agreeing to
Did he
serve.
listen?
He'll be strong for us on that, I think. So, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
And sir, the record will reflect that Commissioner Parker abstained from voting.
Please.
It is ordered that Ronnie Lowry is appointed to the Aging Committee for the Purchase Area Development District to serve a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2022 and expiring on June 30th, 2025, subject to further orders of the court.
So moved.
Second.
And that aging committee, let's see, that's not a descriptive term, that's the name of the committee.
I'm glad you didn't try to put me on that one. I probably wouldn't have to get there.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Okay, ordinances.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2022-3 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. An ordinance amending McCracken County Ordinance number 2021-5 by making revisions to the proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 operating budget by modifications in receipts from car rental tax, insurance proceeds, miscellaneous, transient room tax, drug forfeiture, and debt outside sources in strict compliance with the mandates of Kentucky Revised Statutes Chapter 67. The present ordinance makes revisions to Ordinance 2021-5, McCracken County proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 operating budget pertaining to a modification of receipts from car rental tax, insurance proceeds, miscellaneous, transient room tax, drug forfeiture, and debt outside sources. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2022-3. Ordinance number 2022-3 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge's office for ordinary business hours.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2022-4 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. An ordinance amending McCracken County Ordinance number 2015-2 and setting forth a current salary classification table and omitting the longevity provision for all employees of the McCracken County Sheriff's Department. The action effectuated in the present ordinance is authorized by Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 91A, and Section 65.210 to 65.314. The present ordinance formalizes the amending of McCracken County Ordinance number 2015-2 and setting forth a current salary classification table and omitting the longevity provision for all employees of the McCracken County Sheriff's Office. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2022-4. Ordinance number 2022-4 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Sir, before there is a discussion, we need a motion to amend. There's a note for one of you commissioners to read. Would you like me to read it?
Yes.
A motion and second is needed to amend to add 2 items under the specialized duty, second language of $1 and hostage negotiator 25 cents, and to note that the specialized duty pay applies only to sworn deputies.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that's on the amendment.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment is approved. Now on the motion for the order as amended.
I've got a question. Are security officers sworn deputies? Thank you.
Thank you for your work on this, Sheriff.
Thank you for your work. This is our first one we got done. Good work.
No more discussion. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. All right, we have need for an executive session tonight. Let me get my cheat sheet here.
I need to add the real estate issue to your cheat sheet.
Okay. Acquisition of real estate. All right, so we need an executive session motion for future sale or acquisition of a specific parcel of real estate as permitted by KRS 618101B. Also, issues which might lead to the appointment, dismissal, or disciplining of an employee is permitted by KRS 618101F. That's it. Is there such motion?
So made.
Second? All right, all in favor, aye. Opposed, no. All right, we'll go into executive session. I guess I'm not sure about the real estate. Is that something we might take action on? Okay. All right, so we're going to executive session. We come back and reconvene.
Handle that first. And then we'll know.
Oh,
But
okay,
I will stay, sir, just in case on either.
okay. All
And
right,
you're a trooper.
okay. And then we'll come back, we may have additional action to take when we come back. All right, retire to executive session.
I can't keep it.